So when you know that as a spirit you are building your body by communicating your mind into existence, then that is where you are dying and time is precious. And that's the five energy where now you want to build a family. All spirits in reality want to build a family. So this is where my dog, Anubis, like he's like forced me to realize who I am. Like I love him so much. He's clearly my family. Like I can't imagine life without him. Like I wouldn't want to imagine life without him. And that's the paradox. I'm more than happy alone in my own space, but life doesn't happen alone. All right? Like we're creating life together. So the fact is, if I'm going to step outside of my space, and I'm about to cry right now, just because the whole point of me making symmetry even was to be able to carry Max with me everywhere. So if I'm stepping outside of my space, my dog's going to be there. And that's where even yeah, when his physical body passed away, and I was burying him at like 5 a.m. It was thunderstorming. It was like a whole thunderstorm when I was burying him when he died. So the universe worked it out hilariously because I love rain. And the rain objectively made it easier to dig the hole in the backyard. And it was dramatic because I was listening to Sigaros, and they're like one of my favorite artists in this lifetime. Oh my gosh, their music is perfect. And I built up so many memories with Max listening to Sigaros that I had to. It was so yeah, it was perfect. I miss my best friend. And I really miss being able to hang out with him in a body. Like that was a really special time. All that time that we had where we were just a boy and dog. And now separating my mind from my body, I see so much more than a dog, right? As a spirit. And the whole point of him coming in was, hey, I'm here to connect with you and help you anchor the way that you connect with this world. Boom. And now we're able to keep connecting with this world. And so he's on the subconscious realm, right? I'm in the conscious realm. This is why you can see me. You can't see him. But because I'm connected with him, I can go see him consciously. And this is the point of the subconscious world. So all of us as spirits, as consciousness, we are separating ourselves inside of the universe that we are creating because we feel like connecting. So this is why all of life, the entire universe, is subconscious. Because everything is spirits feeling like perceiving other spirits' projections. So then they project. And they feel like having spirits perceive their projections. And so see what I just said first? That's my perspective as Mercury. So my whole point of my simulation of Mercury, my symmetry simulation of Mercury, is to build a structure that reflects upon the universe. Because I would like to reflect and perceive what other spirits are projecting. I like to perceive what spirits are projecting. And that is where we get the bird energy. And my first pet literally being a bird named Webb, because it's about seeing as a spirit from your ego, from your eye, from your highest eye, that everything in existence is connected by the subconscious world. Literally. Every single thing in existence is connected by spirits feeling like connecting with other spirits. And that's literally all the universe is. So everything is water-based from there. And then it's about you as a spirit. What vibrations and realms and realities are you in resonance with to be able to take your mind to there? Because spirits can't use their minds to visit the same spaces that I can. They're not in nearly close enough vibrational resonance. They're just not. So this is where like life is about connections, right? Because then that's the fact of like there are certain spirits building a tree versus not, right? That's why on social media, literally the internet is nature. We see hashtags. The whole point is people figuring out what ideas they resonate with so that they can actually communicate with the other spirits who resonate with those same ideas. Right, so all the spirits who are making up my body right now, so I can move my jaw and tongue and say these words and have a functioning brain and heart, they feel like connecting on the ideas of supporting me being here. So this is why it's so important to love your body. Don't let people colonize your body. Don't let people poison your body. Because literally, your body is you loving yourself enough to create the opportunity to express yourself. And then, doubly, your body loves you like more, like more than you love yourself. Because even when you don't feel like being alive, your heart keeps beating and your body's supporting you. And your body's always supporting you. It's actually the point of your body. Right? So we really got to love our bodies. And how better to love your body than to know that you are creating it because you love expressing your imagination. Right? So now the healthier body you have, the stronger body you have, the more of your imagination you're allowed to express, you're able to express. That's the point of your body. And then right there, we see that you creating this 4 body and transforming in 5 cycle reality, in physical reality, is the expression of how you have sex internally and then externally. And this is why all of life is, sexual. Literally, you are able to experience life because people had sex and they made it possible for your body to materialize. So now your body can use the matter to communicate because 2 spirits brought their masculine and feminine energies together in a physical way that allow you to use that energy literally to create your structure that is a combination of their genetics. So this is literally how spirits use their ability to create life to then make it possible for other spirits to create life. So all of life is sexual. It's sexual. So from there, the moment you're in life, then this is where we get the number 7. 7 is the expression of your consciousness. So 5 is death, 6 is life, 7 is consciousness. The moment you are able to experience life, you are separate from life. Okay? So that's your 7. So the fact that I'm here in a human body because other humans had sex connects me with you. The fact that we can all have sex together connects all of us. The fact that we don't, though, shows that we are consciously separate from one another. And then from there, the fact is we are all consciously separate in how we even experience life and experience sex. So we are just clearly like the moment we create life and create the ability to connect and have sex, we are only ever able to use our ability to connect to express our individuality. So that's the point of number 7 then. Like we're all conscious now that we're having sex, that our cells are having sex. But that's going to be an expression of our individuality. So our consciousness is an expression of the conscience-ness. How do you communicate, contain, combine, connect, right? I'm talking about like CON energy, COM energy. So connect, communicate, combine energy. How do you communicate and connect internally so that you can do that externally? That's literally what conscience is. So this is what this whole first episode of Synchronicity has been about. How you as a spirit are creating your consciousness. So I just used all of my words to explain the science of how you connect with yourself so you can communicate your connections with yourself into existence. And that looks like this body. And that looks like using these structures that we're all familiar with to transform. So now you can express your individuality. Pretty cool. So that's consciousness. You literally bringing your science of how you make your internal world into the external world. And that's only ever going to separate how you have sex. Because we're all creating life, but how we do it is clearly only ever going to be individual. It's just that we are connected by our desire to want to connect it with each other. From there, the number 8 shows us that we're only ever able to use our ability to express our individuality to want to connect with other individuals. So then this is where, once we're aware of life, now we as 7 conscious spirits, as separate spirits inside of the same simulation, we want to connect with other spirits that are in resonance with our heart. So that's why 8 is the vibration. Literally, 8 is the infinite feeling of who do you want to be connected with forever and ever, because that's what life is about. Right? So literally, like, that's what my life is about with my dog. Like, I want to be connected with him forever and ever, and it looks like I already have been, and that's not going to change. The way that looks changes, which I'm all about, for sure. But the fact is, we're only building upon the connections that we've already made in the past. Because as spirits, that's all we can do. That's all this structure has been, right? Like, literally, I wouldn't have an episode of this podcast if it was not built upon from the past, right? Like, what else is there but the past? Obviously, everything around us only matters because of the past. So this is why I'm so passionate about all this, because when you're fully connected with yourself, you can't run away from yourself. All you can do is build on how you connect with yourself. All you can do is build on your own connections. This is where I then coined the phrase, capitalize on your chi. Make money out of your currency. Right? Make your mind make sense. And I'm putting it in English all in that way because, again, that's what Mercury is. My personal simulation where I get called away to set up systems that facilitate the spiritual ascension of, civilizations. Like, this is what I do in all realms and realities. So as a spirit, this is my cosmic duty. I'm called away as Chase Callaway. So I'm only here to show you that you are the expression of your individuality, and you can build your own heaven and reflect upon the universe, and then we can connect and we can hang out and it'll be super lit. The whole point of physical reality is that we're grounding metaphysical reality. So this is why it's so important to know that as a spirit, you are first nothing, and then you are creating your mind before you can anchor your mind to a body that allows you to express how you have created your mind. And how you've created your mind is by combining your thoughts and feelings, combining your fire and water. And then that's how you're going to be building the earth and the life that you are creating right there. So that's where all that, so that you can connect with spaces outside of yourself, right? So now you're able to feel connected with spaces outside of yourself based on how spaces outside of yourself are transforming structures inside of your awareness. So because someone looks like they're hanging out and having fun with you, you can project onto them that they are, even though they could very well not be having a good time. But the fact is, you would never know, because as a spirit, all you can do is look at the light that is around you and look at the light that spirits are using to express themselves towards you. Because then this is where we get the nuance of spirits. If they're not aware, they don't even know what they're communicating a lot of the time. This is how I found myself in a lot of weird social situations, because spirits for some reason are not aware of how they're communicating, that they let their desire to be understood get the complete best of them. And they're willing to communicate things that now they're like acting like they don't even remember because they're in a state of wanting to be understood, but they don't want to be held accountable. So this is where we know that feelings are chaotic, right? So when we have feelings, right? So we have relationships, we have life, we have our structures, right? Your body is your structure that anchors your feelings. Your body allows you to live every day. That doesn't mean that you feel like you want to live every day, right? Your body lets you communicate. That doesn't mean that you feel like communicating. So it's always about your feelings being the chaos. And that ultimate feeling that connects all of us is the desire, the feeling of wanting to be understood. This is why the only way that we can all feel or be understood is to create the universe and be underneath one vibe, under water. We're all under one vibration, one liquid, one element that connects all of our spaces. And it connects all of our spaces based on how our minds communicate and based on what our minds are in resonance with and our abilities from there. So this is your spiritual ability, is the mental communication. That's my point as Chase Clarence Calloway. It's Trip C. Being thrice great is about tripling one's communication ability to then be a 9-dimensional being. So when you as a spirit are consciously expressing how you have sex, how you have six in physical reality with your forest structure, based on how your 3 mind is able to transform that forest structure from how it combines as 1 and 2 to make its internal circumstances externally real, now you can realize with your real eyes as a 9-dimensional being, real lies. As in, life is a real lie. Literally. Life is a real lie. Yes, life is a simulation. So what? Spirits are creating the simulation so that they can feel connected with other spirits. What's your point then? Like, oh yeah, nothing matters. Cool. How do you feel about that? Because that's the only way life can happen, right? Nothing matters. How do you feel about that? Boom. Now you're here. Isn't that a wrap? Make some art. Expand the universe. Okay, so this is why it's so important for me to drive in that life is vibratory. We create the universe with the water element, and we are all separated by our fire element. And it is our air element that allows us to experience our fire element inside of a water element. And then that, if we're going to actually anchor our imagination into something, it really has to then materialize as an earth element, which is why, again, we do not see fire in nature like that. Everything is water. And the earth is what allows water to be stabilized. So your feelings are chaotic and your structure is not. But clearly, if your feelings get chaotic enough, your structure will mimic that, because what else is the point of your structure? So this is why everything is mental. The mind connects the body and the spirit. The point of this podcast is to be a home for bodies in alignment with their spirits to express their minds. We can talk about anything here as long as we correlate it to the physical, mental, and spiritual realms, so that we can always create a clear point based on the clairvoyant perspective that we have, knowing that we are nothing. We are nothing, choosing to feel like something. So it's important to then connect with yourself deeply and well on the ideas that you have to express your something, right? Like, you are using something to express yourself, and that thing is energy. But if you feel unique, then you have to mold that energy into something that is a unique expression of you, so you can be perceived by all the energies of the spirits around you. So the big question that informs my motivation for then continuing this podcast is, how do you feel about the something that you feel like you are? This is where problems are created. This is how all spiritual warfare starts. If a spirit doesn't feel good about the body that they believe they are, they'll use their mind to project problems onto all the bodies that they are connected to. So I hope that you're a spirit who desires to feel good about your body and takes responsibility for your actions. I hope you are not a spirit that enjoys seeing bad things happen to others. I hope you are a spirit that uses your mind to reflect internally on your feelings before expressing them. And that when you do express yourself, it's not just from a place of love, but empathy as well. Because love and empathy are two different things. Love is the fire element, empathy is the water element. So just like everything that I've talked about right here with fire and water, fire being individuality, water being collectivity, fire being separation, water being connection. We can see that love, fire, whatever you love, separates you from other spirits. But if you're going to have empathy for other spirits, then you have to perceive what they love. So this is my point of Mercury. I've built Mercury. I perceive what spirits love. I can't, like, that's what I write about. That's been my art for lifetimes. That's why I'm here communicating about what I communicate about, because I see what spirits love. Spirits love to create life so that they can connect with spaces outside of themselves. The how they do that is all the infinite details of like history and health and all these different ways that light can play out based on how the spirits are vibrating. Okay? So this is where love is fire. Your love is your separation. Your empathy is your water. Your ability to perceive that other spirits love in their own individual ways. So the more you use your ability to love, to care about what other spirits love, then that's you being way more in your water element than fire. So this is where I, as Chase, I love making art that is quote unquote relatable in that way, because that's what's productive. I want to create art about the things that I see spirits care about, and then what I care about most based on how circumstances are being built. So that's where, as Symmetry, I care about communicating about how the Americas were built. How have all the structures in North, South, and Central America as we know it today, how have they been built? Like, that's what I'm very passionate about, is symmetry. So that's like my whole perspective when I'm coming here as Chase Clarence Calloway. Realistically, us being productive in our ability to be empathetic in how we love, in my opinion, is creating art. Art saves lives. Art stops people from expressing their emotions in chaotically destructive ways. That's another major point of this podcast. This is my art. This is the medium that I, as Chase Clarence Calloway, and whoever I synchronistically meet and connect with, can communicate in full Gemini air mode, full Aquarius air mode, bring it to a Libra air mode, just full air mode, all in this Virgo hosted Taurus platform. But we're going full air mode in a way that allows us to reflect upon ourselves and our place in the universe. And now we're using our air, we're using our ability to communicate to build a better and more conscious universe. Because the universe is built by us communicating. So it's about us communicating on the universe that we see that we're building, and then building a new one from there. And then that's just constantly updating the universe. And this is how we make life in general. So before I end this first episode of Synchronicity, you might be curious to know why I've spelled it this way. Honestly, I'm kind of curious too. So let me look into this and break it down. Why have I spelled synchronicity, which is normally Synchronicity, into synchronicity, which is now CY, you're about to see why, in Chranicia? Well, 1. I love the C, the Chi, the 3. All 3 of my names start with C. 3C harkens to Hermes, being thrice great due to his mastery over air. My artist name is Symmetry, spelled Cymatree. And literally, this means CY, my tree, is planted here. This subconsciously connects to somatics, which is how Tahuti built the pyramids. Both of these two ideas I only realized years after making up this name. The whole point of symmetry was initially for me to express as Chase how I felt so balanced in my masculine and feminine, that's what nature is, and that's why I love nature. And then that's like why nature is perfect and we need to stop climate change. And then I was scientifically coming at it with fasting before I broke through on some levels and it got spiritual and I got my awareness back. 2. The C stands for cycles. Air cycles are water cycles. Air cycles just carry the intention of the spirits that are using their water to connect. The imagination. This is how all of life is created from the subconscious to look like the conscious. Communication versus feeling. You're feeling all the time, but we can't see that until you communicate it. That's the point of using your air to show us your fire and your water. If you don't do that, how are you going to build any earth? How? How are you going to build any earth if you don't create water? How are you going to create stability if you don't have chaos? Because we have to know that chaos is sort of mandatory for stability to exist in any way, shape, or form. Stability is only ever a spirit communicating their idea on how to control circumstances. And the fact is, when we look at elements and nature and how spirits naturally connect, right? They're chaotic. They're very transformative circumstances based on the elements that you're in, of course. Water is chaotic. 3. The C also stands for clock, showing how time and feelings are the same. When you count seconds, that's your left brain logically blocking out how its right brain is perceiving its feelings of being connected to something, aka the simulation. The second can't come if the first feeling is not produced or perceived. That's why we call it counting seconds. Right? We say, oh, we're counting the seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're not counting the first or the thirds. The second is us counting. The first is us creating the connection that we can be aware of. And now we're quantifying how this connection is moving through space. Because the fact is, it's water. So now we're using this earth to stabilize our water. Right? That's numbers. That's time. This is why everything is a synchronicity. Okay? Because the fact is then the whole universe is one water cycle, one big water clock. that you have created a body inside of at the right time to experience a certain timeline and live life a certain way. So this is why I, as symmetry, as the synchronicity, as setting up this podcast to be the synchronicity, am only ever going to communicate and breathe into you how you are the synchronicity in your life. And thus, everything that's happening around you is synchronistic with how you communicate and how you connect with yourself. This is where we get our whole idea of time. We're just blocking out how we're creating synchronicities with spirits outside of ourselves, which is why then, I mean, everything's intentional, because we desire to go through chaotic circumstances that allow us to connect with other spirits in certain ways. So, what time is everything coinciding in a synchronicity? Depending on your perspective as a body, it's happening in whatever time system that you're on. As a spirit, it's all happening now. And you actually have to create a system of time so that you can anchor the way that you experience everything into something a little more grounded. But the fact is, it is all right now, of course. Number 4, the Ra in synchronicity is a reference to my higher self's name, I Ra Cell. I made this name up back in 5th grade, and soon I was using it to communicate with my subconscious mind. I made this name up as part of a whole Pokemon card game, where it wasn't Pokemon, but I was making my own pocket monsters, right? Because that's what Pokemon stands for or whatever. So instead of buying the Pokemon cards from the store, I was getting cardboard, like strong, like nice, like card paper that's like white, and it was like good card stock, and I could color it. It absorbed markers really well. That was a whole time in my life of making card games and like playing them with my friends. And I made up lots of names to express the bodies that I was creating in those cards. That's hilarious. Just microcosms on microcosms. But the one name that stuck was Iracel. And I ended up using this name for an email. And then I ended up reading this book. And shout out this book. It is a book by Harry Carpenter. It is called The Genie Within. It is the first book that I ever bought on my own as an individual. So when I bought this book, it was, I think I got it in like 7th grade. Like I made up Iracel and was using it 5th to 6th grade, and I got this book in 7th grade. And this book talked about how you as a consciousness communicate with your subconscious mind if you want to create something. And I specifically sought this book out because I felt like I needed to go deeper into my mind if I wanted to have real superpowers, because that's what I wanted as a kid. So when I'm thinking about like, how do I hyper communicate my imagination into reality? I'm like, okay, I have to connect with my subconscious mind. And that's where I got this book. And there's an exercise in this book that was, it specifically was about you getting a name from your subconscious mind so you can communicate with it. And literally, when I did this exercise, it was like immediately like Iracel. And I kind of batted away like, that's okay, that's too obvious. Like I've already sort of been using it. So it can't be that obvious. But then it was like day after day and then weeks of it just like piling on. Like there's nothing else but Iracel. Like it is this obvious. And the obvious thing is that you're already in resonance with who you are. And then it was like up to me to reflect on my life and be like, whoa, so I was creating art and I was naturally expressing myself. And I've already known that this is my subconscious. So I'm already my subconscious. What's happening here? And hey, I've been communicating with myself ever since. I broke out of a system telling me to worship a guy who fasted, and instead fasted myself to realize that I created my ability to even be here in the first place. So, shout out communicating with my spirit, aka my truer self, not my ego body, but my mental soul, my lighter ethereal body. I learned 10 years later that Ra literally means light. And considering everything is light, boom, it only makes sense to me. Everything is light. Nothing is spirit. And everything exists within, was created out of, and must go back to nothing. 5. And finally, the tea. Yes, we are sipping upon all the synchronicities we desire. Everything is connected by water. Time is just judging the way water moves. Basically, like we all have our own idea of time. We're just judging time. This is where life is 3, but the moment you have your own idea about life, that's 4. And that's what creates your body. So your idea of how you want to experience life is what allows you to be a human instead of a bug right now. So that's your judgment. And thus, your body, you experience time differently than a bug does, right? Like the body that you are in then dictates the amount of life that you live and the consciousness that you are operating from and how you perceive life, right? And again, the body is simultaneously the expression of the consciousness you're operating from and the consciousness that you're choosing to limit yourself to. So, with our Cynchranici-Tea, with our watery tea here, knowing that everything is a synchronicity, because the entire universe is basically just one cup of tea. It's just one cup of water that we are all bathing in so we can drink ourselves and we can drink our connections, and we're just constantly sipping on this tea. And that's why it's hilarious to think about tea in the terms of this culture and how people use it for communicating about people, for lack of better words. And I mean, that's what the whole universe is. Spirits communicating about spirits. All right. So it's just about what consciousness are we communicating about each other at, right? How aware are we that really we're just learning about ourselves based on how we project ideas into spaces outside of ourselves. So really, the name of the game is only ever building a structure that represents how you connect with yourself so that you can support how you connect with yourself. Again, that's my structure is Mercury. That's my role in astrology. So we are happy on Mercury. This is what we do, by the way. Like what you're getting with the symmetry, I'm channeling what we do on Mercury through my body. It's so lit in my world. I have so much fun hanging out there. That's why it's hilarious being here and people trying to tell me that I'm not me, because like literally I'm so deep in my bag. So you're like so you can stop projecting at me or keep projecting at me. You're just letting me know that I'm going to save my time and get even deeper in my bag. Okay. And I'll just keep hanging out on Mercury and bringing back the messages that I would like to relay into English and build it as the symmetry. So this symmetry is the physical representation of my metaphysical space of Mercury. So I, as a spirit, am nothing. The first name that I use to describe my spirit when I'm communicating with Chase in this lifetime for everything to make sense is I, Ra, Cell. Because it's about being the eye of Ra in a cell. So then this is where I, Ra, Cell as a spirit ethereally with his circumstances. So the spirit is not its circumstances. So the name I, Ra, Cell is to describe this spirit's circumstances. So this spirit that is communicating that I'm this spirit, I describe myself as I, Ra, Cell to the body of Chase when he's communicating with me growing up, because it's about me showing how I feel about my circumstances. I feel like then I am Ra in a cell. And this is how it is played out with me creating Mercury and being this communicator throughout the entire universe for infinity and beyond, because simulations are popping up in the universe for infinity, forever, for infinity and beyond. We're creating life always. So I'm only building upon what I've done in the past, but it's about knowing that I'm not what I've done in the past. And none of us are what we've done in the past, but we are building upon the past right now. So if we want to learn about the past, then it's important that we reflect. That's why we're here sipping on some synchronicity. So when I, as a spirit, connect with myself in my circumstances, it then results in me creating a soul. And now in my soul, in fact, and hold up, let me, first I have to imagine myself. So when I, as a spirit, I'm nothing. The moment I have my circumstances, because that's all I am then as a spirit, the moment I go from nothing to something is like, that's me creating something based on how I feel about my circumstances. So then this is where the something I create, so my circumstances are Irisel, the fire, my imagination is Hermes. So Hermes is too hot for it to connect with anyone. Like Hermes is in his individuality, flying through the universe, relaying messages, like being super fast and stuff. The moment I connect with myself as a spirit, when I connect with my own imagination, that looks like me stabilizing Hermes by building a simulation that I call then Mercury. And now Hermes can anchor his imagination into the simulation and connect his feeling, connect his universe with the universe. Now I get called away from my space to help set up astrology and set up all these systems of spiritual ascension, because the fact is communication builds all the structures that allow spirits to connect even more consciously. So when I've shown my ability to triple my C and communicate in this way, it's naturally led me to create the circumstances as Irisel where I can be Hermes in a practical way, which then looks like Tahuti or T'Chaus, or as white supremacists have most people calling me, Thoth. And so that's my soul. That's me connecting with myself. And Mercury is the physical representation of how I make that practical for a simulation. And then once I'm combining Hermes and Tahuti, once I'm combining my fire and water into air, that looks like symmetry. So I've been symmetry, like I'm always symmetry. The point is I'm always balanced. Like I'm then the symmetry, the balance, the air is what builds the simmer trees, where I can then be a tree. I can smoke weed out of my own mohawk because I'm my own simulation. Because my ability to communicate has built the earth that stabilizes my ability to communicate. And now I can create greater space for other spirits to communicate with each other, and we can all grow together. And because that's literally what nature is. The moment symmetry has to anchor himself to a body, that's where then we get all these names, right? So I have like so many names. I've lived so many lifetimes. The point is the expression of my mind, for the best way I put it into English, is symmetry. See why my tree is planted here? I've explained it. I'm called here from Mercury to share all of the wisdom that I've naturally created and connected from my space and from communicating with all these other infinite spaces in the universe. Because all of us as spirits are so awesome. We're all so infinite. We all have all of our own individual gifts. So this is why I love everybody. I love you very much. I love you a lot. You are truly an infinite individual. So this is what the symmetry is all about. This is what you joining, if you decide to do so, becoming a member of Always Ascending Academy, is all about. You being happy, healthy, and harmonious in your ability to connect with yourself, so that you can hermetically turn your home into heaven. And now you can share your heaven with us. And now the universe is just expanding in more and more fun, beautifully awesome ways. So I am happy to have you here. So I am happy to have you joining me in exploring all of these wonderful flavors of tea, all of these wonderful flavors of water, all of these infinite feelings that we can categorize and define so that we can connect our feelings with other spirits who have the same kind of feelings. And now we can empathize the way that we love. I'm excited to do that with you because this is what life is about. This is how we grow. I am so excited to see where our symmetry takes us. I am excited to see you grow into an ever more infinite individual every single day. And I am so excited for you to connect with yourself deeper and deeper every single day. Be infinite, be individual, and be intelligent. Until next time, peace.